All right, welcome to our On Fire Empire team call. Today is Wednesday, August 31st. So the last day of August, we're headed into September. We've got the health bet coming up. There's still time to invite people to that. So make sure you're getting your people and plugged into the Challenge Tracker app. We are still going to have a Facebook group as well. So make sure you're still inviting people to that. First of the month, we're starting back at 0. So think about how many people you are planning to help next month, and make that a goal. Sometimes we get caught up in numbers and, Success Club points, which I think is great in a way because some people are really driven by seeing that. But let's think about those numbers representing lives, and let's set a goal of how many lives you want to impact next month. So, my non-negotiable is I want to change 5 people's lives next month. So, rather than saying Success Club 10, I like to think about people. So we've got a couple more people hopping on. Awesome, Megan. Okay, so we have Miss Sarah Cronin with us tonight. She is a fellow Fit and Fierce coach in Megan's downline. She signed up as a coach last May. So we started right around the same time, actually. She is a diamond coach and consistently hit Success Club, has hit Success Club 10, I think, since she started. Now she's consistently getting herself and her husband to Success Club 10. She's averaging 27 points a month this year. I'm pretty sure she is at her record month this month. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so I was talking to her and just asking, okay, how do you get so many people to commit to these challenge groups? How are you getting these people involved? And she was talking to me about how she runs free clean eating groups every month. Which is something I've done in the past, and she's kind of the reason I'm wanting to bring it back. And so I thought, well, what better way to get us started than to have her come on our call and tell us how it's helped her business, how she runs them, and how to do them efficiently to where they can grow your market, grow your challenge groups, and grow your team. So I am going to turn it over to Sarah. And you're good to go. And you can tell your story. Oh, she has a little boy that is 2 years old, if you guys didn't hear us talking a minute ago. And she is currently expecting her second. She doesn't know what it is. When are you due? You're due soon, right?
December. Yeah, like early December.
I mean, it's coming. And she's got like lots of craziness going on right now. She is a full-time attorney and works her Beachbody business. And I'm just really excited to hear from her. So you can fill in the blanks and then just share with us all your tips and tricks.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First off, I appreciate it. I definitely think when people ask me, we have these, the Ring the Bell post, and I get some questions from people like, what are you doing that helps you reach Success Club? My first response is always these free groups. And I don't think it has to be clean eating, but I'm going to talk about it in that context for me because I think that I kind of led in this business in the beginning with cooking and with recipes, and that is what I would consider my niche. And I'm definitely not somebody who's cooking for my toddler too. It's really just more for me and my husband at this point still. But when I started running these consistently, and I did it according to the formula that I got from my upline, I think Haley has some of the information too. I felt like I started to see the business grow, and I will go into my page where I create my events in a little bit, and I'll share the screen so you can see it. But it is funny because I looked back today actually in preparation for this call, and last year I maybe had like 3 events from May to December that I would just randomly create. This year, every single month, I create events for this, and I think this year I've seen obviously a big turn in the numbers in my business. And I think that's why I think this formula works. Now, if your thing is more in fitness and you want to do like free ab challenges or, free water and workout challenges, or I don't know, I guess I've seen Team Courage people do positivity challenges, like whatever your thing is, I think you can apply this. I just think for me, this is kind of where my niche lies. And I have a lot of people, I'm from the South Carolina. I actually live in Charlotte now, but it's a very food driven culture here. And I try to definitely tailor the menus that I make for this to that type of target audience who like to eat a lot of food and they like good recipes. And I think it's been something that works well for me. So I'm going to just talk about a couple of basics first that I'm sure everyone does, but I think this is what has helped. The first thing is definitely consistently adding new Facebook friends, and then inviting those friends to like my like page. I think that building the network has been something that's been helpful for me to add new people to these groups on a monthly basis to kind of keep things fresh and make sure I'm not just inviting the same people over and over again. The number two thing that I recommend, and this is what I do with my team, is schedule out your month. And I would even say do it at the end of the free clean eating group that I have one month. I go ahead and schedule out the following month, and I create events for that. And it doesn't have to be this time consuming thing. You can pull stock photos from Google Images or Pinterest or whatever you want. But I think just getting an event out there and having it set, especially for people that are following your like page and that are subscribed to your events, that's a really helpful thing for them to see. And so the way I run things is first week of every month, and it's the first full calendar week, that is a 5-day free clean eating group. And I like to do it the first of the month because I think it helps me kind of fill up in my challenge groups for later in the month. And then the very last week of the month, typically, I mean, if it's a long month, I might do it. The fourth Monday is usually what I would go by. I will run my long challenge group. And what that allows for me is if I have like excess Shakeology and I want to run a 5-day Shakeology group, somewhere in between I can. This coming month, I'm going to do a 3-week yoga retreat group, and I'm going to do it like the 12th. And so that gives those people a little bit of time to jump into the longer group if they want. But I think that allows for, people to commit to a challenge pack or to commit to the longer group. And if they know it's the first week of every month, I have kind of regular people coming back and then people adding friends. And I think that has definitely helped to get more people into the events as well and get them into the group. The third thing I always do is, like I've referenced, is I make the events. And I make the events through my like page. And the reason why I do that is just so they get the greater visibility. I will still share them to my personal page or invite people from my personal page, but ultimately I do them through my like page so that when other people say that they're going or they're interested, that their friends will see it and it is getting more visibility. And again, I don't do anything, very fancy necessarily. I'll share with you what I did. Let me see if I can share my screen. And this month is kind of a bad month to use probably because I have focused so heavily on this health vet group and I haven't really been focusing so much on the free clean eating groups. But let me see. Can you guys see my Facebook page? Move it over here. Can you see it now? Okay, so these are my events here. And the health vet group is what I've been focusing on this month, but I always go in and add the free clean eating group. And, I don't know why it's not showing the description, but usually in the descriptor, I just put it as a nutrition group. I'll put, join me for a free clean eating group, or I'm going to share a 5-day menu and a shopping list for you. And you can feed your family with this, or, just kind of like little marketing words, I guess, to get people interested. And then from there, the event is just on my page. And then what you could do in events, and Haley said that maybe not everyone was utilizing them, and I'll just show you here. I don't know, everything's delayed, but you have your like full discussion feed in your events where you can post on it like it's a totally separate wall. You can go live on it. You can post pictures. You can, have other people comment. And what I've found, I guess, is with this is I think it gets more visibility. So I'll go live typically on the event page itself. You can't see it here, but I've been doing it on this health vet page. You can post pictures. Like if you're going to go ahead and make your menu for your free clean eating group yourself, you can actually the week before make the full menu and post pictures to generate interest. And I've done that in the past. I will say I used to create a brand new menu for the free clean eating groups, and so I would make the menu a week in advance. I quit doing that. I definitely think the more I'm told I need to give more value to my paid customers than my free customers has started to resonate with me. So what I typically do now actually is reuse an older menu that I've created for my longer group for the free clean eating group. And so this is like the country heat group I had that started this week. But basically, I always put usually like a little cheesy detailed thing here. And then I will use this as its own, social media outlet to generate interest. And everything's taking longer to load. But for country heat specifically, I was doing like workout videos. I would go in and talk about Shakeology. Obviously, for a free clean eating group, you're not really going to do all that. But you can go in and you can talk about like healthy substitutions, or you could talk about making one of the recipes. Like I always try to put a crock pot meal on my menus, or like a 30-minute meal. And I try to talk about some of those benefits so people understand what clean eating is. I know it's such a tagline, but I think that helps generate interest. And I create those, like I said, typically at the end of the prior clean eating group. And I don't post in it really until the week before, because I'm usually focused on whatever the long group is that's going to start before that. And I apologize for these things not loading, but typically it would look like my own like Facebook feed on there, and me posting kind of different sneak peeks. And I try to use it like every day, but for a free group, I'm really just focusing on it the week before rather than through the whole month. So the week before, I'll kind of blow it up and then leave it alone the weeks before that. And another thing I typically do is if I've invited someone to a long challenge group and they've committed and then backed out, or if they've said it's just not a good time, I will usually throw an invite to them immediately, because I want to keep them as somebody who is in kind of like my queue of people to talk to. I've kind of found the busier I've gotten, the more I've relied on these events to make sure I know like who I'm talking to currently about challenge groups, or challenge packs, who I'm talking to just about clean eating, who's like just doesn't really understand what we do. And then I use that as a way to kind of put them in like a holding pattern, I guess, until the next challenge group. And then after I've kind of targeted the people that I've talked to that maybe haven't committed, I just max out the invites to these events. And I think it lets you invite 500. I think it takes a little time to do it, but I go through my feed and I basically target more moms. Usually if somebody's just had a baby, that's probably somebody I'm going to ask. It does take me probably like at least 30 minutes to do this, but I feel like I get more quality people into the clean eating groups when I take a little bit of time to kind of figure out, like who would be a good fit for it. And then if you are keeping track at all of recent people you've added on Facebook, you might want to add them too. To the invite, so you can kind of like, it's like an easier invite than just starting a random conversation with that person, especially if you're getting to the point like me where the people I'm adding on Facebook, I probably don't even really know. I'm starting to get these messages like, do I know you? And I have to come up with some like, stupid response of, well, we share all this stuff in common. I think you look familiar, whatever. So if I kind of invite them to those things, then it makes me look maybe less creepy. And then also people that are liking things on your like page, like if you go in and you talk to them and they don't really understand what you do, they might be good people to invite. And then what you'll see is if you kind of are maxing out what you can do, their friends or people that that can see their activity on Facebook will see that they're interested in your event, or that they're going or even not going, and they might click going or they might click interested. So in the events, it lets you track those people who say that they're interested, and you can start conversations with them separately. And so that's kind of what I do. And I think that's how I get most of the people into these groups. I don't develop these really quality conversations with them at all, I can say, just because I simply don't have the time to do it. But it's a good segue into talking about, like, they clearly have a need if they're interested in this group. And then I know they're the people I want to focus on for the next month for a challenge group. And if you guys are going to be running these as a team, I would say each person make their own event. And I have to do that with my team, because I then make my coaches add their people to the group. And then I know who I need to be following up with in the group and who their people are. It's kind of hard, especially when you have overlapping networks of people. And I think you have to kind of track it that way to say, okay, you added those 25 people to this group. Those are your people to follow up with, and these are mine. And it's like hands off. And I've made sure to have that conversation with my new coaches that I run these with. But I think, for your business purposes, you obviously want to be able to designate who your invites were and who your ads were to. And I do this with all of my new coaches, but I also let like older coaches who just have 10 people or something add to it. I think that this is such a more comfortable thing to invite to than full challenge groups for new people. So I try to get people out of their comfort zone with this first and say, like, obviously this is your way to start talking about the business without it being the super salesy thing, because you're able to invite to this free thing. You don't really have to pick and choose or wait for someone to come to you. And I think it helps get confidence really to move forward into the longer groups. And it's a good place to start posting because we use scripts for everything in ours. And I know that kind of is a scary thing for a lot of new coaches to do as well. Am I like flickering on your screen? It's flickering on my screen. Okay, so the next step typically is to make the actual Facebook group. And I usually do this on the Friday before the group starts. I've had people complain about this before, saying they would like to get the menu in advance of that, or they need the shopping list sooner than that. I just say, I'm sorry, like I have all these other groups going on. I always start this group on Friday. I always post a menu and the shopping list on Friday, and that's when you can have access to everything. I know that the prior person that I kind of adapted this from would post each day's menu the day before, and you had to check in to stay in the group. I don't do that. I just, if people don't comply, that's fine. Like, I'm not kicking people out per se. I say you're welcome to leave if you don't feel like you can follow this. But I kind of have that blanket rule. I don't have enough time to give you something like a week and a half in advance and you to go in and make all your own modifications to it. I try to say, obviously, this menu is developed with a purpose, and it's not just like, thrown together, and we are trying to help you get optimal results. So if you could follow it start to finish, that's the best way to do it. And I also post a starting Google form on Fridays. It's a very basic form, but I basically, I've tried in the past to ask people to register for Beachbody On Demand or a free Beachbody account to do free cleaning groups, and people just don't do it. So the best thing I've kind of figured out is to do a Google form, and those that actually complete the starting Google form and the finishing Google form are my most committed people that I will focus on the most. If they want to try out Beachbody On Demand or something like that for the 5 days, that's fine, but I'm not going to have the time or the energy to physically go in and double check that to make sure they can stay in the group. I tend to save that for like a 5-day Shakeology group or a 10-day Shakeology group, or, obviously this yoga retreat. That will be a requirement. But for the free groups, I just do the Google form. I ask for their starting, I think it's just waist, hips, and bust. I don't even do like arms and legs, I don't think. It's just, it's too short, like whatever. And then I will say in there, like, are you working with a coach already? If so, who's your coach? What are your goals? And then I also post an ending form, which I'll talk about in a second. After I get that set up, I add everyone. And what I do typically is add anyone that's ever said going or interested. And sometimes it takes a little bit more work to add those that say interested, because a lot of times we aren't Facebook friends. But again, I just add them as friends, or I say you have to add me in the event feed, and I add those people. Like I use TeamZ, but I add them as like potential contacts for later in TeamZ. And if they don't add me and they say interested, they just don't get added to the group because I have no other way to add people. And then I'll usually post again in the event like Friday, maybe Saturday, and say it's kind of last call. If you are interested, please message me directly or send me a friend request, and I'll get you in. And I kind of leave it at that. Like I might make one more post on my like page or on my general page saying, I'm setting up the group now. Like if you want a shopping list before you go to the store tomorrow, let me know and I'll get you added. But I don't really chase down a lot of people for this because it's a free group. And, at that point, usually if I've invited 500 people, at least 30 say they're going, which is fine by me. Like usually if I run this with a couple of coaches, we might have like 125 people. And most of those usually are for me because I think some of them still aren't maxing out their invites for it. Then the next step is on Sunday night or Monday. It really depends on, what the schedule looks like or how busy I am. I try to individually message everyone. And I don't do like personal messages. I literally just copy and paste. Like hey lady or hey girl, did you have a chance to access the menu and get set up for the week? And that's it. And people either respond or they don't respond to that. But again, the people that do, like, it's a process throughout the week, basically, where you're weeding them down to see who's really invested, who's really following things. And, at the end of the day, and I'll give you some stats about this when I'm done, I leave those groups. I don't ever delete people from groups and close it down, because always have people I can go back to. And I have done it, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. So I just usually leave the people in there. If they don't respond, that's fine. I mean, they get a free menu out of it, but what's the worst that can happen? They use it, they see results later, and then they, contact me. That's fine by me. And again, those people who are responding, or if they've completed the Google form, those are the ones I'm going to focus on. That's when people usually ask about like substitutions for things, or just have general questions about snacks. Somebody probably hasn't read the guidelines that say specifically what you can have and can't have. So I'll answer some questions then. And it does take time. Again, like, I'm not putting hours into this, but it probably takes an hour to message all those people. And then I'm randomly getting messages back throughout the week. So it is kind of a time consuming process for that first week of the month, but honestly, it's not a big sales time, I don't think, challenge pack wise. So it gives you, contacts that you're generating, and at least people that you're developing relationships with. In the groups, we follow the scripts that Haley has. It's just daily posting, and it tells you like a morning, afternoon, evening post. We split this up based on the coaches. Usually people just take a day each. And it does tell you on that schedule to make a video about headaches or make a video about bloating. Honestly, because I'm the one who typically does a lot of the work behind it, I am usually the one who's making that video. But you could certainly split that up too. Sometimes it doesn't even get done. It just depends on how busy things are. But I do think it's helpful to go live at least once to cover the purpose of the meal plan. Like, the meal plans I put are always 21-day fixed meal plans, 1,200 to 1,500 calories. And so I just try to make a general video that says, this meal plan is not necessarily intended for, ongoing use depending on your body type, but it is specifically formulated for short-term results. Try to follow it as closely as possible, because it has been put together with specific serving sizes and specific portions of whatever food. And this is how you'll see optimal results in this group. I have had somebody say that was a mean video before that I did, because she was just proud to show up and say she ate clean. But I mean, the thing is I think sometimes people do get a little confused about the group. Like, I have to say, this is not a group just for you to check in and tell us how proud you are of yourself for skipping fast food today. Like, it is a group that is specifically there for you to follow this menu. And so it gets a little frustrating at times, because you're putting a lot of time and effort into it, and then people aren't following. So I think if you can go kind of live maybe earlier on, or, post a video or some sort of post that explains that, then you'll get people that are either really committed or people that'll say, well, I just can't do it. And that's fine. Not everyone's going to want to even try. And then, we typically go throughout the week. And if I have people asking questions, I'll talk to them. If I have people that are super responsive, we do the nightly check-ins, and they're giving all sorts of good feedback. I try to go ahead and plant the seed for the longer group if I can. Sometimes people don't say a word throughout the group, and then they're interested in a longer group, and you don't even realize that until like the weekend. That's totally fine too. But definitely try to foster those relationships as they grow. And then on Thursdays, I always advertise for the next groups that are coming up. If it's just you doing it and you've already created your event for the next group, you could even share your event in the group. I know, obviously, if you're running this as a team, if you're just putting your event in there, like, you're kind of going to be the one getting all the leads. So that's not necessarily ideal. But what you could do is like some sort of general, like, Google form maybe that you put at the bottom of the post that says, it could be like a team Google form maybe, or something that says, who added you to this group? Like, what have you been liking about this group? What are your goals moving forward? Are you interested in the next group, or something like that? Friday, I always post an ending Google form. And generally, I will say for my groups, I just do the Google form for the whole team, basically. And so few people actually commit and follow through the whole thing. It hasn't been too much work to go in and, like, me message my coaches to say, hey, your participants, like maybe 5 to 7 actually submit everything, I'll say, so-and-so lost this much weight in inches. And that gives them a point to, then have a conversation with that person specifically to congratulate them and maybe talk about a longer group. In the ending Google form that we do, though, I always put like, do you have any questions about the upcoming challenge group that starts on this date? And some people say yes, some people say no, but that automatically gives you, a conversation starter for those that do say yes. And then Sunday or Monday is usually my deadline to submit the ending Google form, and I'll share the results with the group. And so it's a pretty like methodic thing. I don't ever change up the post just because it is a free group. And if people do it every month and they get tired of it, well, they at least are getting usually a different menu, so that's fine. And then I always try to, like the people I've talked to throughout the week that have been fairly responsive, I try to keep track of them and then keep talking to them to see if maybe they would be interested in a longer group. I will say, obviously not everyone converts right away. I'm lucky usually if I get maybe like 2-3 commits from that. But I mean, if you leave the groups open and you have those contacts to always go back to, I think what you'll see is over time, those people might do a couple of free groups with you and then they'll eventually convert to a longer group because some people just take that long to build up trust. I just wanted to share this because I was in my diamond training group for the Southeast region. Each week this month, we've been asked to share how many challenge packs we've sold. And so I had a list and I went back just for the last 2 weeks. And 4 of the 7 challenge packs I sold in the last week, those people had participated in a free group first. So that was kind of a good indicator to see, how effective it's been. And some of those people, like their initial free groups very well could have been January. But I did go back for this health bet group and I messaged every single one of them. And that's where leaving the groups open without deleting everyone was really helpful. And then the week before, 2 of the 4 that bought challenge packs actually had done a free group to start with too. So I think it's something where if you consistently do it, just because people don't sign up right away doesn't mean stop doing the free group. I think if you keep doing it, people will see, that this is something that you kind of become an expert at, and they'll develop trust in you. And then when they are ready for something more long-term, they'll come to you. And I think especially when you focus on like meal planning and nutrition, I get so many women, especially from South Carolina where I'm from, that do like the FIA boot camps. And those are free boot camp groups. These women really don't need necessarily help with workouts, but they almost all need help with nutrition. And so like, I think one of them knows about it and they tell like 15 more. And over the last year, I've had several of those people doing these groups. And I don't know if you guys know anything about this FIA thing, but it's like F3 for guys, like faith, fitness, and whatever. I think that's what it's called. But these ladies that are in this group actually like meet for boot camp every day, and somebody in the group has to coach the group for the day, and it rotates. So like these people would be the perfect Beachbody coaches, honestly. And so it's kind of become like, a way to develop these new other good networks of people. And I have gotten, more outside of my like warm market with this than I have with anything else. And it's it gets to the point, a year in or a year and a few months in where you kind of start to have to really explore those options to fill challenge groups. So I think in that sense, it's been really helpful. I try to do that as fast as possible.
No, that was awesome. So when you guys started this, and I'm letting the rest of the team know, I actually got to hop on their team call to learn from, it's another coach and another team who
she's Megan Eggleston's coach.
Yes. And I'm trying to think how many people Jennifer got from these free clean eating groups. Like it was some crazy number, but she had been consistently running them for 2.5 years or something crazy like that every single month. And, and I will say, I think y'all did that call in October maybe. And I did. And I think I got 2 challenge pack customers from there, a couple, and they actually turned into coaches. I went back and looked at that group today, just because I haven't done another one since then, not for any other reason than besides the fact that December happened and then I just kind of got lazy, to be honest. But 75% of those people that were in that group have since been a challenger with me in a challenge group. One of them bought a challenge pack last week, and it's been since November. So just like Sarah was saying, like it just creates it goes outside your warm market, or maybe it brings more of your warm market, makes them a little hotter. But I have a couple questions. So I have the outline of kind of how the posts go. Have you changed anything from that one that Jennifer sent?
Not really.
Not really. Do you schedule any of those posts? Do you schedule like the daily check-ins, or do you just make it happen?
Yeah, so I don't do anything. Are you getting an echo?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what's happening. I've got the flicker and the echo. But anyways, I don't schedule any posts. I need to get better about it. The one thing I didn't like about her format is that her check-ins were like in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So I just moved those to the evening post generally, and it would be like a 5-6 o'clock thing. Yeah. And since most of the people in my groups are East Coast time, it seemed to work out well. Like at 4 o'clock, no one's really checking. And I think I get it for her purposes because she's kicking people out. So she's in a way giving people more time, but I'm not doing that. So it just,
Yeah. So I did do that group. It was hard. And just like she said, like it is time consuming that week if you do that. And I think that's one of the reasons I didn't do it again, because it was and you guys, if they didn't check in, at noon, if they didn't check in by like 4, I was kicking them out of the group and sending them messages. Hey, just letting you know, if you forgot to check in, let me know because we're about to share the next meal, whatever it was. I can't remember, but it was hard. And there were some people that got their feelings hurt and I don't know. So I'm totally game with just everybody stays in, whatever, they get extra stuff, it's a free group. Right. So, I've
picked a few people out, but like literally it was randomly like a month or 2 ago, somehow another Beachbody coach ended up in there and it was like her people. And one said she wasn't even really following it. And I just was like, listen, you already have your coach. And I told the coach that was in there and she said she didn't know how she got in there. And I just like, obviously in that case, I'm like, okay, let's get rid of these people. And I try not to invite people that are like Advocare reps and Isagenix reps. Like that's just kind of my thing. I guess like some people might like to approach their competitors a little more aggressively. I just don't want them to benefit from like the meal plans I've put together. And it takes me a while to do these meal plans. And I'm like, I don't want them to go take this idea for their business. So I leave them out. And if I see that it says that on their thing, I might just remove them without telling them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, so you leave your groups open. Do you ever go back in the groups and say, hey, my next free clean eating group is starting Monday if you guys are interested?
Yeah, I've done that. And I just will share the event usually, so I don't have to like put a long blurb. Mm-hmm. And I have done that a few times. And I was considering doing it for next week just because I had focused so heavily on the health vet that I just did not talk to anyone about the free group. And I might do that tomorrow. I mean, yeah. I can only take on so much.
Oh, yeah.
I've received 20 questions today. When does this health vet group start? And I'm like, tomorrow, leave me alone.
Yeah, you have definitely got your hands full this
month. I'm just getting the same questions over and over again.
Yeah, like, oh. Yeah, exactly. Okay, do you guys have any questions? Because, ask away, unmute yourselves.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Now, so I've created my own event in my page for our On Fire Empire 5-day. Mm-hmm. You were saying that you go live under the event about it, not your page about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could go both ways, but the thing is like, I get so little engagement on my like page when I go live, whereas if I've invited 500 people to the event,
Okay.
and those 500 people haven't necessarily liked my like page, I feel like going live in the event sometimes has better engagement than just on my general page.
Okay.
And then sometimes I might go live on my personal page about it too. Like it just, I'm not a good scheduler of posts. I just try to post 3 times a day, and it's like very flighty. Like whenever it comes to me, I'll do it. And I just would say though, if you're going to utilize it like a normal Facebook feed, but just being geared to that group, then if you've invited 500 people to that, and they at least have already seen that they've been invited, then I think their eyes are kind of on it already.
Okay. And just to use it like a commercial.
Yeah.
And if we had like a commercial, not, but if we did have the meals ahead of time, we could start posting those pictures as little like hooks and ink, little hook to draw them in.
Yeah. And I make more of a point to do it with my long groups for sure, just because I feel like they require a lot more explanation. But I think in the past, whenever I've been able to like make the food and post pictures, just giving sneak peeks, or like the Country Heat event, I don't really love posting Beachbody before and afters on my regular page, but in there I would post them, and people would like that, and I feel like you kind of figure out what works. Like if you know that from this upcoming clean eating group you're going to do, like you had 5 participants who lost 25 pounds, well, in your next group, like make a post about it, or in the event, I should say. And use that as like a way to hook people in. I would use it as like an advertising tool, basically.
I never thought about posting in the event. Like it never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to post the menu for you guys. I'm going to create a whole file for this. So you guys see the script of things that will be posted every day. Maybe we can split them up like Sarah was saying.
Oh, sure.
In the menu, because I did back when I did this one time, I had my event page, and I did make some of the recipes like this week, the week before, and I would post them, in the event page, like, are you guys excited for this? This is breakfast for one of the days next week, or on my Instagram or like page, and I would say something like, clean eating, whatever. This is one of my recipes I'm sharing with my clean eating group next week. Who wants it? And kind of like use it, like you said, as a commercial, as marketing. But yeah, absolutely post in that event page. So yeah,
that's why I say do your own events. Like I think that
I created one.
Kind of generate more interest on your own too.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? For Sarah specifically? Okay, that was awesome. I'm really excited.
I do. I just thought of one.
Yeah.
You do like participation points and prizes for those groups?
No, I mean, honestly, I could see I could see where in the beginning, like that would be helpful, but because I have gotten to the point where I have usually like 2 to 3 groups in a month, I cannot focus on the free group that much. And it's been kind of like, put into my head that I need to stop giving so much value to people that aren't paying for anything, which I know is bad to say, but like the menus I create are, I think, really good menus. And in my longer groups, like I have a database of like 8 to 9 menus I give to my people. And so that's kind of the sneak peek into what they would get in a longer group with me. I will say, like, one month I had this whole box of latte Shakeology, and then the Shakeology, like I just didn't really know what to do with it, but it had been released, and I was like, okay, you know what I'll do? Like I'll give out some prizes in the free group. And I did that once, but to pay for postage on that and then to like go physically mail it and do all that, it's just kind of a headache. So I save a lot of my like prizes and gifts and stuff for the longer groups that I do. But I think in the beginning, like I just don't love all these freebies or like spending a bunch of money for nothing. And I know that like the Southeast Diamond group I'm in, he always talks about offering incentives. And I'm like, I just feel like if you're giving them a really good menu and you're like showing them the kind of results that they can have, that should probably be sufficient. The one thing I left out, Haley, is that I do post like free YouTube exercise videos, and that always kind of pains me a little bit to do, because some people think that they could just go to YouTube and use that as their source for exercises. But the one thing I've noticed is there is like a couple of Tony Horton workouts on YouTube. There's a couple of Autumn's workouts on YouTube, and I think Debbie Siebers or something. So I try to pull those and then just put a couple other random ones. And I try to do it almost in a 21-day fix format, where it's like upper body, lower body, cardio, Pilates, yoga, whatever. And then I try to explain the like benefits of that if they want to do the longer group, just because 21-day fix and 21-day fix extreme are such like the more popular programs.
Right.
But I mean, in general, I just don't have time, and I don't want to spend the money, that much more money on that than, you know, the people that are actually investing something.
Yeah. So I did, when I did mine and I was kicking people out and whatnot, if they filled out the start form, checked in every single day, and filled out the ending form, then I sent them a packet of Shakeology. And I think I don't remember how many I had, but there were like 3 people that did it all. But
see, and that's more beneficial. But like, I'm getting to the point where I add like 70 something people, and I'm like, I'm not going to, you know, send out 70 packets of Shakeology just for someone checking in, you know, like, I don't know.
yeah.
Well, I was asking because I did a free clean eating group a few months ago, and I did like the point system, and just one person won a prize, and you know, other coaches I did it with agreed to split the money for a 22-minute hardcore base, because it's only like $30 or something. And anyway, she ended up buying Shakeology and then ended up buying a PiYo challenge pack. But at the same time, it's a hassle to have to add up all those points for everyone who's participating. So I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I don't know if the benefit.
Yeah.
I've had to learn to draw my hard lines, and with free clean eating groups, my hard line is like, you're getting the benefit of a menu, and you're getting the benefit of a place to keep you accountable. And if I am feeling really generous and want to give something, fine. But in general, like especially these months where I'm doing like 3 groups or more, I just can't do it.
Yeah. I agree with that. Anybody else have any questions? I know we're running over on time. Okay. Well, I know Sarah will be available. If you guys have questions, you can post them in the page and I will relay them to her. And like I said, I'm going to, the girls are in bed and Brock is gone. So I'm going to try to sit here and upload some of those files and the script and the menu and stuff to our team page, so you guys have a better idea of what is going to be posted and what is going to be happening next week. But anyway, I'm really excited just to start this, and it may be a complete flop, but you guys have to hold me accountable to, even if it is, we're going to continue doing it first week of every month, because eventually they're not going to be a flop. So,
and you still will have ones that aren't great, but I mean, the thing is like, but you might get like 5 really invested people, and that's worth it, you know?
Yeah. And see, I think my problem is I am not a foodie. Like, I don't like cooking. I don't like meal planning and prepping for myself. So to like come up with new meal plans, that was always a turnoff for me. But now I've got a lot of people here that like to do that. So I'm excited to hand that to somebody who does really good at that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a coach that is more into fitness, and she just did like an ab challenge. I think she ran it very, very similarly and really liked it. And you could just, like, Breen has just like a tribe clean eating menu. That's some like really basic menu. You could do that for your team and then use the same menu every month, but change up the workout. Like, I think the concept is all the same.
Right.
You know, like they just need the accountability and they get a little bit of value. So
yeah, I love it. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out a little bit later with us tonight, Sarah. I really appreciate it. You are a rock star, and I love watching every time you post on the Ring the Bell. I'm like, Sarah, she's so cool.
I feel like I'm trying to motivate my team. So
Yeah.
that's why I keep posting.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you guys have a fantastic night, and September is tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys.